Hello, everyone. We are excited to be back with our first ever live episode of Gut Shot, the Magic the Gathering podcast, with a game winning ultimate, but a +1 that just gains life. I am your shorter, plumper, more supple host, Warcrimes Uwu.
That is right. This is a new paradigm in how we're doing things. Super excited about this. It's like a new beginning, a new dawn. Hello, everyone. I am Will, and as always, I'm joined by Frederick, aka War Crimes Uwu. As always, Fred, it's been a hot minute. How you doing?
Pretty good. This last semester was awful. But I am glad that we are out of school for the semester and back into doing some gut shot, being able to sort of give it our all, take it in a new direction, and we're excited to show that to our audience.
In these unprecedented times, it's time to try something new and to make something out of the absolute trash pile that 2020 has been. So we are here, and man, I'm super excited to talk about Magic. I don't think we've really had a in-depth Magic discussion since probably around when Zendikar Rising came out. So I want to ask you real quick, what have you been doing in Magic in the last little while since we talked? How are you enjoying Zendikar Rising?
I'm liking the couple cards that it added to like historic mono black devotion. Actually, really more Kaladesh Remastered did that. Having gifted Aetherborn and Fatal Push in historic mono black devotion has been the sauce. And you know me, I've been just Outlaws merrymenting in Standard, and I'm going to do it until I can't anymore. And I mean, Zendikar Rising added a couple cards to that. It added the flip lands, which are much appreciated, and then like one more removal spell. But you know, I'm a simple man. I like to slam down Outlaws Merriment, and I like to play Mono Black Devotion Historic. And Kaladesh Remastered added some stuff to that. I am playing Crypt of Agadeem in that deck as well, and it has sometimes led to some explosive plays. So that's what I've been doing in Magic.
So, Crypt of Agony, you'll have to remind me what that does.
It's the Black Mythic flip land.
Okay. Right. The path. Oh no, not the Pathland. Which?
Agadeem's Awakening, Crypt of Agadeem.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. You hardly ever cast the spell, but when you do, it's sometimes pretty cool.
That's interesting. I actually think Zendikar Rising has been a really great set, for Magic, just in terms of like design and power level. Omnath not considering, but I gotta be honest, I haven't really played any Standard since Zendikar Rising came out because it's like, why wouldn't you just play Historic instead?
True.
All of my efforts have been in Historic, and especially since Kaladesh came out. With all those toys. The only Standard that I've really played has been in Brawl, which I actually am super into Brawl. I may be going a little bit towards the Commander side of things. Phylath, I've been jamming Phylath almost nonstop since Zendikar Rising came out. Have you been playing any Brawl?
Yeah, a little bit. I like historic Brawl. I think it feels clunkier in Standard because you just don't have all of the tools that you would need to make your deck work. You have to play some pretty bad cards to play Singleton with just Standard. So I do play more historic Brawl, but Chandra Todd has been really fun from Kaladesh Remastered, putting her in my Klothys deck and just playing her as the commander and putting her in my 6-drop Chandra deck. I just love the card Chandra Tortured Defiance. I think it's super versatile. It's like a red Jace the Mind Sculptor, and I've loved playing that in every red Brawl deck. Really glad that that's around, because I play a lot of historic Brawl. And I've been playing some Ashiok Brawl in Standard. I feel like that deck has the tools to kind of get there. I've been really enjoying that.
That sounds
Ashiok
like a
Standard Brawl.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, obviously a great card. I actually have to kind of disagree with you a little bit. I actually think Standard Brawl is pretty fun. And Historic Brawl is fun. I think Standard Brawl is also very fun, and I think the choices that you have to make with the standard card pool actually adds a layer of strategy and fun to it. Because with Phylath, I actually feel like there are too many good cards in Standard for Phylath, really? And I have to make some tough cuts. Escape to the Wilds.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't play that in Phylath, even though it's kind of a home run. Of course, you get that in there because there are other cards I'd rather play.
Yeah,
So,
I was surprised when that got banned from Standard. But
yeah.
I'm even more surprised that you wouldn't play it in Standard Phyleath Brawl. But I guess you've tuned that list. You've played it for a pretty long time, it seems like.
I don't even play Azusa in that deck. It's just there are other more powerful things I can be playing.
Yeah.
Instead of playing a creature that lets me play more lands from my hand. Why don't I play just more ramp cards that get the lands directly out of my deck?
Yeah, that one
So
doesn't surprise me as much because I think Azusa is more for the sort of silly combos with Karoo lands.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It is crazy that there's so many ramp tools in Standard that you only play some of them in Phylath.
This is not why we're here on this podcast to
You're
talk
right.
about.
Yeah.
But
One more note: if you prefer Standard Brawl, your misogyny is showing. I will not elaborate. Google is free, sweaty. But Will, tell us what we're here for.
Yes. Okay. So we are super excited for the new upcoming standard set, Kaldheim. It's been teased for quite a while through Magic's history. I think we first heard about it. This may be wrong, but we first heard about it, or at least I first heard about it in the Plane Chase set with the Kaldheim plane that I think did something like buffed up attacking creatures or something like that. But we're going to the plane proper this time with a standard set, and we're already clued in that it's going to be heavily themed by Norse mythology.
Yes, I remember hearing about Kaldheim, and there were some leaked fake packs of Kaldheim I guess it would have been a year ago, because, it would have been about a year ago. We thought that Kaldheim was going to be the January set last year, because there were some pretty convincing looking fake packs, and that was before they revealed the whole year ahead at once. And we thought that, like, Kaldheim was going to be out then based on, and it was a leak that someone made based on that plane. And I was just like, oh yeah, that seems like the logical next course of action. Norse mythology is the one mythology they haven't really touched very much, so we'll probably get that set. And now we finally are, and I'm super stoked.
Yeah, this is going to be a great set. Everyone's excited about it, and there's all sorts of awesome things from Norse mythology that could easily translate into Magic cards, either the story or card designs. And we wanted to talk about that. We're huge nerds, just like everyone else that plays Magic. So of course, we're very well versed in the mythologies of the real world. And we wanted to take a look into Norse mythology and find things that we thought would really work well within Magic. And we've both come today prepared with some ideas and even some card designs to share with you.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. This first one was one of your suggestions, Draugar, which I'm going to be honest, I thought were from the Elder Scrolls.
They are actually. Most people are actually going to know these from the Elder Scrolls. These are the basically the zombies that you would find inside a lot of Skyrim dungeons. But so you kind of get the idea of what these are. These are basically zombies, like the Norse mythology version of undead that come to life and can wreak havoc, attack, or just cause harm to living humans. Or you could maybe you could get this idea from the White Walkers from Game of Thrones. I'm sure that this was a inspiration for those as well. So basically, they're previously living humans that are, who wake up and, smell of death, they're rotting bodies. And they're often described as having like pale, like corpse, like a pale blue skin. And they're often said to have magical abilities as well, which is no surprise for people who's been in any sort of Skyrim dungeon. But you can actually kill these a second time. It's not like I guess modern Western zombies is how you would say that. That you keep killing them and they keep walking back up. They do die a second time and they're supposed to stay dead after that.
The pale blue skin, the smelling of rot. I didn't think that my prediction that we would have a set that takes place in Cincinnati would come true, but here we are. I love these. So are these actually from Norse mythology and they're called Draugar there, or just are they from the Elder Scrolls? Because I thought that the Elder Scrolls made them up.
No. This is basically like what I'm saying that magic should do with these. The Draugar are from Norse mythology, and
Okay.
and so basically the Bethesda making Skyrim took that idea and put them into Skyrim pretty much, word for word.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I like this. I think it would be silly for them not to put this in here. This seems like one of the good touchstones for them to sort of hit on, especially like when they're making black cards for the set. It feels like every other block we get like a 1-drop creature that can bring itself back if you meet a condition the set cares about. Like there was a Blood Chin Ravager or whatever that had Raid in Khans of Tarkir that you could put back. Most recently, Gutterbones, which if you had the Rakdos condition met, you could return it to your hand and then put it back into play. And I think if there's a mechanic that whatever this set happens to care about, a Draugar could maybe come back. But also the way you said that they kind of stay dead, perhaps there could be like an unearth type mechanic involved. I would like to see multiple Draugar, but at least one fulfilling the role of like the aggressive black 1-drop that can come back if you meet the condition.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just kind of thinking about this just being kind of the zombies of the entire the entire set. Yeah. So basically, like of course, there would be a whole slew of zombies, including that aggressive black 1-drop, and they could all just kind of be themed around the Draugar. So we talked a little bit about this before we started, but so you have been kind of keeping yourself away from the actual card spoilers of Kaldheim.
I wanted this. Until we did this episode, I want to make sure that this episode is sort of like, man, I don't want to be like, man, it would be cool if they include this literal exact thing that's already been spoiled. You know what I mean?
Okay, so did you see how there's going to be like a creature type, like a tribal bent to the set? Have you seen that?
I heard that there was an elf tribal planeswalker, so I figured it would probably be a tribal themed set. And it seems like WotC's been trying to make zombies work in modern, given that we got some in Amonkhet, we got some in Innistrad that were pretty good, that seem like the pieces are gathering, and then we got some good ones in Modern Horizons 1. So I think since there's no other zombie tribal in Standard right now, this would be a good time for them to push these Draugar if they have the zombie creature type, and maybe give us the last couple pieces we need for a modern zombies deck.
Oh yeah, that'd be really good. Based on the spoilers and what Wizards has told us so far, it does look like Kaldheim is going to have a tribal bent to it. And as far from what I can see, and I'm kind of looking at Mythic Spoiler right now, there no zombies have been spoiled yet. But I mean, if you're going to have a tribal set, you have to have zombies, right? So if they wanted to have zombies be a part of this, the Draugar are just a perfect fit. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with this idea, or just with zombies in general in Kaldheim.
Yeah, I could see the Black Tribe being horrors or something, but I think that would disappoint a lot of people. I don't know. I like zombies because I tend to hate tribal because it feels like it's all the same deck. It's just a bunch of 2-drops that give all your guys +1/+1. But zombies have always managed to do it in a really interesting way. They've like brought each other back, or tap to lose life and draw cards. Like they engage with each other in a tribal way that's more interesting than just this elf is all the other elves' dad or whatever. And everybody gets +1/+1. So I would be excited to see some Draugar, some zombie tribal in Kaldheim for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's my first idea.
All right, yeah. So we both had Ratatoskr on our list, and I made a card for it. I love Ratatoskr's lore. I think he's really interesting. So do you want to talk about Ratatoskr a little bit first, or do you want to just jump into the card?
So I see what you pulled up there. I honestly don't know too much about what this little creature is, but my understanding is that it's a bit of a trickster spirit that lives on Yggdrasil, the tree. I hope I'm saying that right, and conveys messages between the gods and goddesses via crawling up and down the tree. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. So there's an eagle that lives at the top of the tree and a dragon that vibes under the tree. Okay. And Tosker basically like runs up the tree and tells the eagle that the dragon said a bunch of shit about him that he didn't actually say, and then does the same thing the other way around. And just gets them mad at each other, just kind of to be an asshole. And then he also chews on the roots of Yggdrasil. Like he gnaws on it, and apparently that's going to have something to do with Armageddon, maybe when he's chewed the roots completely, which is sort of where my design comes from. So this is Tosker Root Defiler. It's 2 a black and a green for a 3/3 legendary rat horror. He gets +1/+1 for each creature in each opponent's graveyard, sort of referencing, he's sort of sowing chaos. And then for 1 mana, you can discard the bottom card of each opponent's library. Each opponent who discarded a creature this way loses 1 life. And that was more of a flavor thing. It sort of represents chewing on the roots. You're discarding the bottom card of your opponent's library instead of the top card.
Oh, that's very interesting. Does that work within the? I'm sure like the rules can be written to where that works, but like, does that line of text work in the rules as written? Obviously, we know exactly what that means, but
yeah, there's been cards that draw cards from the bottom of your deck, so
oh, okay,
that too hard.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I wonder if you could say like mills from the bottom of your deck or something like that.
Maybe. I would be curious how they would choose to phrase it now, because I believe this effect has happened once or twice, but not since they keyworded mill.
Sure. Yeah. I love this idea. It's basically a kind of a mid-range card that sits down and holds the board down, and then you could just kind of pump mana into it to basically grow it and have your opponents lose life. I think this is a great design.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it captures what the character did. There were really 2 routes I could go with it. You could either like do the gossipy thing, like maybe make 2 of your opponent's creatures fight each other eventually or something, but I decided to focus on the chewing on the roots aspect. So yeah, I would love a Ratatoskr card. I feel like it'll be legendary. I feel like it'll be intended to be used as a commander, probably not necessarily an actual standard card.
Right. So this is like a deity, but let's be honest, it's a squirrel, and squirrels have a venerable place within Magic history. As the recent ding 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 secret layer has shown us that there's a lot of love for squirrels in Magic. I would love to see Ratatoskr be shown kind of in that vein as other squirrels that we've seen in Magic, but do something real weird with it.
He is kind of an ambiguous rodent as far as I understand. I mean, same. In the Norse mythology, like he's been depicted, I think, as a rat and as a squirrel. I would not mind that. I just hope they don't go super cheesy. Look, guys, you love squirrels, right? This is more squirrel tribal, or haha, funny meme.
Sure.
Kind of thing. Like, it feels like they drag a lot of stuff into the ground when they realize that fans like it. So
That's true. I do have to say this is pretty cool, because Norse mythology is kind of known for being like super huge and metal and over the top, and it's kind of funny to see this little diminutive like rat squirrel type creature have such an important place within a huge eagle that lives in a tree that encompasses the entire universe, and like a huge dragon that lives under the tree, and then all of these like fearsome and ferocious gods that this basically tree rat can be so important.
Yeah, just for like crawling up and down the tree and telling the eagle that the dragon subtweeted them.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. I think I think we're going to see a Ratatoskr card. I would be very surprised if we didn't. But next we've got a card that you actually designed based on the Norse Kraken, and I love this one. Do you want to talk about the Krakens a little bit first, or do you want to just read the card?
No, I'll talk a little bit about Krakens. I actually thought you were going to hate the card, to be honest. I was designing it and I thought, oh man, Fred's going to hate this. But anyway, so Krakens, like everyone kind of knows what a Kraken is. It's very, it's permeated a lot of, kind of our, modern understanding of mythologies all around the world. And Magic already has Krakens. We know them as these huge sea-dwelling creatures that can come up from the depths and attack ships, attack settlements, and just terrorize the people who are trying to live on or by the sea. So the actual word Kraken and the idea of a Kraken actually comes from a Scandinavian folklore. So I think we would be remiss to not have Krakens be a part of Kaldheim. And one cool thing about Krakens that we haven't really seen is we always think of them as coming up and attacking ships and being like a band of sailors who are sailing on the seas. Magic now has vehicles, and a lot of those vehicles are some sort of ship, and that kind of makes sense. I would love to see, now that we're going to, what could be called the home of Krakens, if we could create Krakens that are specifically designed to attack ships, aka the vehicles of Magic
Yeah.
the Gathering. Yeah, yeah. It would be super easy. And when I was designing this card, I it's really easy to kind of over design it. And I tried not to do that, but I tried to make a Kraken here that is specifically good against vehicles. So this is Norse Kraken. It is 8 mana, 8/8 Leviathan with flash. So, if you have 8 mana, you could just drop this down. But when it enters the battlefield, it fights up to one target vehicle you don't control. If Norse Kraken does so, tapping. I don't know if that's actually how that last sentence would be worded in the rules, but
Well, it depends on how you want it to work. Do you want it to be able to get rid of vehicles that haven't been crewed?
right, yeah. Well, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. That doesn't work the way I wanted it to. It would probably have to say vehicle creature. You don't.
So you don't want it to be able to get rid of vehicles that haven't been crewed yet.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah.
There's a number of different ways you could go about this. I am not a master card designer, but I hope that this gets the idea across.
Sure.
That yeah. So it's a Kraken that would fight a vehicle or be really good at blocking vehicles.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea and is a way to give the Kaldheim Krakens a flavor that's outside of the normal Magic Kraken idea.
I agree. I love this design. I think this would be a sweet, like, uncommon in limited, just to sort of hose the couple good vehicles. And then it's a sort of safety valve in case we get design mistake like that train from Kaladesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, where there's a busted common vehicle, there's at least an uncommon counter to it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think it's flavorful. I love it. I didn't know if you wanted it to hit vehicles that have been crewed or not yet. So, like, as worded, it would probably cause a lot of pre-release judge headaches. But I mean, I do want a Kraken that somehow hoses vehicles, because it'd be silly if we didn't get at least some Viking longships in the set. And like just making sure that it's bigger than any ship in the set, so it can take any of them into the deep. I think it's a super flavorful design. Very good. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, I these are not real cards. I am not a card designer. Please do not think these are real card designs. But anyway, I think this is a great idea. I want to hear what you have next.
Yeah, so next, I just wanted to talk about Dwarven Artificers. I read a Norse myth while we were researching for this. So Loki, just as a prank, cut Thor's wife's hair before they were going to get married. And he had to go to the dwarves to get them to craft her some new hair. And he was like, damn, your like crafting equipment is really cool. And they were like, yeah, we can craft pretty much anything on it and it'll be like magical and stuff. And he's like, I don't believe you. And then they were like, all right, but if we do craft something cool enough to impress you, we get to cut off your head. You know, how that kind of thing sort of goes. And then they crafted a bunch of different magical artifacts after crafting the new hair for Thor's wife, which included Mjolnir, which is Thor's hammer. And then Loki was kind of impressed, so instead of cutting off his head, they just sewed his mouth shut, which apparently got retconned later, so his mouth wasn't sewn shut anymore. These myths were written by a lot of different people, and they're sort of passed down like a game of telephone, but I did read that one from like the Mythology wiki. Thought it was really interesting, and it sort of got my mind racing, and I don't have a full design for this, but I was just thinking, like, what if there was a legendary dwarf, or even non-legendary, that was like red and white, that could birthing pod the equipments attached to it, because they just kept making more and more magical artifacts. It could birthing pod the equipments attached to it, and then attach the new equipments to itself automatically.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, Birthing Pod is a very beloved Magic card in the Magic community, and I think that any sort of I'm thinking of how excited people were of Vanifer coming out and basically being a creature Birthing Pod. How people were super excited for that, even though it was a very fair card.
Yeah, it's a very fixed version.
Yeah. Any card that's going to come close to Birthing Pod is going to be super popular and people are going to go crazy for it. And this is a really interesting idea, a really interesting iteration of that type of card. Yeah, so I would love to see something like that. And as someone who loves aggressive strategies and using equipment, this card would be right up my alley.
Yeah, and like I'm just thinking, it turns Spider Silk Net into that big ass hammer, and then equips
Oh
it
yeah, yeah,
automatically. um,
nice.
but yeah, like it's just you can make some kind of equipment toolbox, turn any 2-drop equipment into one of the swords, like that kind of thing would be fun and modern. But it would also just be a really flavorful design. I think it'd be a fun commander deck.
So, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you
But
could just
yeah,
load up with equipment, and yeah, just kind of keep cycling through it. I think that's a lot of fun.
yeah, some kind of token equipment would also be cool. Like if they made like some dwarf that could pump out token equipments. I really liked that ability on the Nahiri from the commander deck that she
Oh yeah.
debuted in, like where she made a token swords, and you'll see that on another design that I made. I love equipment, and I think token equipment like were such a neat idea that they barely touched. Um, so yeah, Dwarven Artificers.
If they want to bring token equipment back, I think this would be a good set to kind of try that, since they really, from what I've seen of the spoilers, they really seem to kind of be going in that direction.
Yeah, I think the Nahiri from Zendikar Rising might be a sleeper now.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So next thing, um, we've got Sleipnir, and this is Odin's 8-legged horse. And I the names for the legendaries, I just he's got 8 legs and Nir is half of the name. So Oknir Thunder's Hooves is 3 and double white for a 4/5 horse angel. It's got flying. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 8 life because it's a white rare. Whenever you gain life, create a Bolt of Thunder artifact token. It is an equipment with Equip 1, and equipped creature gets +1/+0 and first strike.
You knew exactly what we were talking about.
So this is, the 8 life is flavorful because he's got 8 legs. Odin's horse has 8 legs. That's in the lore. Apparently, they drowned a bunch of horses, and only one of them came out, and it had 8 legs, and that was his horse.
Oh. Yeah, well, to get you out of the water quickly. I love that this gains life. I know this is I'm basically going to repeat your joke, but white is in a really bad spot right now, and I think just tacking life game onto white cards is not the way to go about designing white cards. Wizards, please give us something different.
Yeah, well, okay. I think it's okay when the gaining life also does something. That's when you need payoff for life gain, and this card does do payoff for life gain. You're guaranteed to get at least 1 artifact token, and it's a good equipment. +1/+0 and first strike for 1 is good, and then if you gain more life later, you get more. But it's a flavorful card. I mean, this card would obviously be disgusting and limited, I think. It could be one of the best rares, but I mean, probably not constructed playable because it's 5 mana. And Horse Angel is a creature type we haven't had yet. I always like to look out for new creature types.
Horse Angel is great. Big props to you for coming up with that.
Very satisfying. So yeah, this is Sleipnir. I think there are a lot of different forms Sleipnir could take. There's a lot of lore surrounding him. Odin's supposed to ride him into battle on Ragnarok. So yeah, what direction do you think they might take Sleipnir in?
Geez, it's probably just going to be some janky white, white rare that gains life and does nothing with the life, and doesn't do anything that actually puts white on the map in terms of constructed playability.
So I nailed the design.
You did. You got it, man.
Yeah. I agree. Unfortunately, I think that's probably just what's going to happen. Unless the Odin-coded character is the red one, in which case his horse might match, and then, maybe bolt things. I don't know.
I think that Odin is probably going to be, or whatever Odin is going to be, will be red instead of white. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sleipnir be a red card.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll definitely be a better card if it's red.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see. Yeah, Sleipnir is just such a cool, weird character, so I wanted to include it in here. And next we've got a sort of limited. You're showing off a mechanic here, with filing teeth. Will you tell us about what filing teeth meant in Old Norse culture?
Oh yeah,
the picture you posted in Discord made me viscerally uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, I kind of thought about that, but yeah. So the filing of teeth. This is something that we've seen on real Viking warriors. Sorry, I got cat on my lap now. that they would do and we don't exactly know why they did it, even though we could make some educated guesses. So the Vikings, both as like a way to mark like an achievement, or just a way to make themselves seem more fearsome, is that they would do a filing of their teeth. They would file the bottoms of them to be more flat, and then they would also carve grooves or symbols like circles or shapes into the front of the teeth as like a decorative thing. And yeah, it sounds really painful, doesn't it? We can kind of guess that this was, to make them look more fearsome, and then also, give them like a permanent way to mark achievements. But we also, it wasn't like they didn't all do it. It was a kind of more of like a specialized thing, it seems. So I figured, we know we're not going to get things called Vikings, but we're going to get something that is an analogy to them. And I thought, if they wanted to highlight this part of Viking culture and the Norse culture, that they could put this into a mechanic. And I've designed this card to kind of show that off. This is a Career Viking. It is a white card, so it's a bear, 2 white mana. And it is a 3/3 naturally. So you can just play this as a 3/3 normally. It's a creature type human warrior. And then it has the ability keyword Filing Teeth. You can choose that, and it works a lot like Unearth and Return to Ravnica. You may have Career Viking
Unleash?
enter the battlefield. I'm sorry, what's that?
Unleash?
Yes.
Yeah.
You may have Career Viking enter the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. If you do, put a first strike counter on Career Viking. So it's kind of that idea where it's like modal. You play it. It could be a 3/3 or a 2/2 with first strike, and it uses -1/-1 counters to do it, which I think is a very flavorful way of highlighting how awful filing your teeth is.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting too because it completely changes how the creature does combat. Like if you put the -1/-1 and the first strike on it, it can eat 3/2s now, but it can no longer eat 2/3s. It gets eaten by them. So it changes the way that gameplay works and really reward. I'm assuming this is meant to be like a limited card. This doesn't look constructed playable. It looks like probably a common, and it would really reward you for knowing the stats of the other common creatures and stuff in your opponent's colors. So it seems like a very skill testing mechanic. And it also seems like it could go a lot of places. I'm assuming you don't just put first strike counters on creatures whose teeth you file. Like there could be one that draws you cards or something.
I know it's not italicized like it normally would be, but this is an ability thing like raid, so it does different. Like it does different things for every single one.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think it's a super rich mechanic, and even just like putting other keyword counters on it is just really interesting. And this looks like a skill testing limited card for sure.
And it even has a connection to like today modern events, because these people on TikTok are filing their teeth, and so maybe.
Wait, are you serious?
Oh, I don't think, like, it's not like a phenomenon. It's kind of like the Tide Pod thing. People weren't actually out there eating Tide Pods. It was just kind of a joke. But there are TikToks of people out there filing their teeth because there are a few crazies out there. So yeah, that is a thing.
That's disgusting. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then that grosses me out.
Yeah, it's no good.
But yeah, no, I love.
Not just for Norse mythology.
Yeah. Ooh. And they're probably like 12-year-olds too.
Oh yeah, they're TikTok children. But
okay. That's disgusting. I hate that for me and for knowing that and for you.
Anyway, yeah. Back to Norse mythology. Please tell me what else you have came up with for possible ideas for Kaldheim.
Yeah. So this is Jotunheim. And there's a lot of different heims or like worlds in Norse mythology. Jotunheim is the land of the Jotun or the giants. Niflheim is the ice spirits. There's a lot of different heims. So do you remember in Lorwyn when there were weird lands that did very specific things for tribes? So like Murmuring Bosk for tree folk. There was a giant one. There was an elemental one that can make any color of mana for elementals.
Oh like yeah, there was. Yeah, there was Murmuring Bosk, which was basically a tri-land that worked well with tree folk. Mm-hmm. There was, there was the elemental one, and they did the different things. Although
Yeah.
most of them were basically just dual lands that kind of came untapped if you were able to be playing that tribe. I do remember these cards.
Yeah, some of them, but there were specific ones that had strange abilities that kind of worked with the tribe. And I was
Yes.
thinking Jotunheim would be something like that for giants. I'm expecting some giants in this set, maybe for the giant tribal that they played at in Eldraine to come full circle here.
Yeah.
And like maybe we get a red-white land that comes in tapped unless you control a giant, and like you can pay some mana and tap a giant to fling a non-giant creature. I don't know. That seems to be a thing that they like to do with giants. So just some land that has something to do with giants. It could even just be a colorless land with a cool giant-based ability, like maybe allowing you to like just put +1/+1 counters in your giant, similar to the like Animal Sanctuary that we saw in the last core set. I just think the Heims are really interesting, and if we were to get legendary lands that sort of either work tribally or you just had interesting abilities based on the different Heims, I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, that seems like a great idea. Wizards has definitely seemed in the last recent sets to be creating lands that tie into the themes of the set. So I'm thinking of like Plaza of Harmony, that was a Gates land for the most recent Ravnica block sets. And then Base Camp for Zendikar Rising that played into the party mechanic. And then Ixalan had the one, it was a tribal theme. Maybe we could see something like that, especially if Kaldheim is going to be more tribal. I could definitely see this is something that they've been kind of leaning towards with recent design. If this is a tribal set, I feel confident that we'll be getting not like rare dual lands, but some sort of utility land that ties in to the different into the different tribes, either one for each tribe or maybe one that kind of combines tribes. I don't know. There's a lot of ways they could do it. But yeah, one that plays just with giants, I think is a great idea, especially since there is a specific world in Norse mythology that is for the giants. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and we could get like a Draugar crypt and like an elf hame and stuff. Yeah, I think. This is just sort of something to be expanded on. Something I would like to see in the set. But yeah, next.
Especially since giants are known as being big creatures that are expensive. Like you need lands to play those off. So I could definitely see maybe like it ramps in a weird way, but only to be able to play your massive giants more on curve. Something like that would be good.
Do you think we'd see a land that just taps for 2 mana that you can spend on giants?
That's a little too close to Eldrazi Temple, which has proven to be a problem. So
here's
it would
the thing, though. Eldrazi's were good. There's one good giant, and it's 3 mana.
I would say the Titans were giants, and they were all pretty good.
But neither of them benefit from 2 colorless mana.
I hear what you're saying. I think it would probably be more on the lines of Base Camp, which is a shitty card and is terrible for both party and any other deck you're trying to make.
Base Camp, more like Cringe Camp.
I could see that card being made, but it would be nerfed the way like Base Camp is.
It would be a Karoo land that taps for 2 colorless for giants, and it comes in tapped.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I would love to see something like this.
Well, I'm gonna dream about it, and you can be here in reality with all the boring losers.
Sure.
So next, you've got Erikson discovers Vinland. Tell me a little bit about this historical event.
Discovers in quotation marks for obvious reasons.
How white people discover things.
Oh yeah, that's all just on there. Okay, so Leif Erikson, is known for being the first European to get to the Americas and discover what was there, and they called it Vinland, because of the wild grapevines that were there. It was very still cold, but a bit more bountiful, a bit more growing there than the native, Greenland and Iceland. We say discovered because obviously people were living there, and I thought that Kaldheim could pay tribute to this incredible quote discovery. So how else to do it than with a dual land? So this is Canada. Canada is it's a normal land, enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you create a food token, and then it taps for red and white, of course. So of course we would need to theme the food. It would make sense to have the Eldraine type food. So I've come up with a few more food tokens here. There are two of them to kind of go in two different directions. One of them paying homage to the bountiful vines and grapes that Erikson found when he got there. So I've got a nice grapevine, a bountiful harvest there. And then of course, to pay tribute to modern times, another food token highlighting beer and poutine.
Yeah, okay, so real quick, looking at poutine makes me lose my appetite. Like, it's so nasty to me. Like, I will be craving food and be like, I probably shouldn't eat. I'm gaining a lot of weight in quarantine, and I'll just look at pictures of poutine.
Right, for sure. Yeah, with all that cheese and then I'm sure meat-based gravy. My arteries are clogging just looking at it.
Oh, yeah, I've never smelled it, but I just imagine it smells so gross. But yeah, I like this. I was surprised we didn't get lands that said basically this in Eldraine. I think these would be acceptable to have at common. I think they're kind of just like the gain 1 life lands. You gain the 3 life, but you have to pay some mana for it later. The only reason I could see them not doing that was maybe some crazy pauper deck that just really wants artifacts for artifacts' sake, or some legacy deck that just wants artifacts for artifacts' sake. Gains too much from having an artifact enter off of a land coming in tapped.
Actually, now that you mention it, this particular card, Canada, that taps for red and white, would probably be able to be used in that Boros artifact pauper deck, the one that uses Core Skyfisher.
Super cool Dotha Bros.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I know if this came in other colors, I would play it in the pauper Atog Fling deck that I have.
Yeah.
Because it would just give me more food to sack to the Atog to fling. But yeah, I think these are really cool, clean designs. Especially if we don't have to think about degenerate interactions from 15 years ago. I think these are good, clean designs that could totally exist, and just different feasting halls.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't know if you're of the opinion that food should be evergreen or just come back every once in a while like treasure. I think could be cool if it just comes back every once in a while like treasure or gold.
That's how I would want it. I wouldn't want it every set, but when it makes sense. If the only food cards in Kaldheim were feasting halls for each pair of mana they wanted to do, and they were uncommon, I think that would be a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
So that's Canada. This monumental quote discovery should be celebrated in Kaldheim in some way. In my
yeah, for sure. Even just some explore type card.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we play an extra lands, but yeah, I love this design. I think it's clean, and I think that white person style discovery would be.
Yep.
Yeah, discovering something that a bunch of people already live in. So yeah, I made a card for Stolas, and Stolas is a kind of obscure Norse demon deity. He's an owl demon, and he asks you. He knows a lot about herbs and medicine, and he will challenge you to sort of trivia about herbs and medicine. And if you don't know enough, he'll lead you to the forest, and you'll get lost.
Okay. Now, I have to be honest. I don't know anything about this particular figure in Norse mythology, but it sounds like a sphinx to me.
Kinda. He's just an owl with really long legs. He's some kind of demon prince. He wears a little crown in his depictions that I've seen. And he's just kind of a dick all the time.
Yep.
He's really he's like the Norse mythology equivalent of being a woman and walking outside in a Nirvana t-shirt. And then somebody just comes up to you and quizzes you about their back catalog. And that's what Stolas is. He's that guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but about medicine and herbs and stuff. So I have designed a Adeling Strix, and it, I wanted to continue with the theme of asking your opponent difficult questions. So he's 2, a blue, and a black, and I couldn't quite get all the text on the card in Cardsmith, and I didn't want to fidget with it for too long, but I know what it says. It's 2, a blue, and a black for a bird, a 2/2 bird. Flying. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent looks at the top 5 cards of their library and separates them into 2 face-down piles. Choose one of them and exile it face up. Shuffle the other pile back into its owner's deck. You may cast spells your opponent's own exiled by cards called Adeling Strix, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those spells. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, it's when it enters the battlefield, it fact or fictions your opponent's deck, and then you can play the cards. And so I wanted to make it so that like you didn't just get them immediately, because then I'd have to overcost. Or you didn't just get them for as long as you wanted them, because then I'd have to overcost the card pretty hard. I wanted to stay with a 4 mana 2/2 flyer, so I decided you have to control an Adeling Strix to cast cards exiled with Adeling Strix. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same one, but if you lose yours, you can't cast the cards anymore, but if you play another one, you can. And I just thought it reflected the sort of quizzical, like, putting your opponent in an awkward situation sort of vibe that Stolas has.
Oh, yeah, this is a great design. Very, one, flavorful to what you've told me, but also, yeah, this is just really interesting Magic design. Players love fact or fiction. That's like one of their favorite, especially like old school players that favor control just love effects like this. And I actually really like more recent iterations that they've done, like the legendary creature from Theros that does this when it comes into play. I don't remember its name.
The Oracle of the Black. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and to do this out of your both to put like almost 2 spins on it, that like it's your opponent's deck, and that you can and give you the ability to cast those cards. So you're being able to cast cards that are not a part of your deck. That's just a really good. I would love to see like this particular card design show up somewhere down the road.
Absolutely. I put it at rare. I really wanted to put it at uncommon, but it's just too much text to be an uncommon, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my kind of thought process was like, it's like a Gonti fact or fiction. People like both of those cards a lot. So that was kind of where I wanted to go with it. I decided not to make it legendary, because I wanted you to like not really be punished for playing multiple copies of it, because that makes it better.
Oh, right, for sure. Yeah, this is a great card. Good job. You have a knack for creating these cards.
I really like designing cards. I do it like in my spare time. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the Stolas card, Adeling Strix. So next we've got church burnings base. What are you wanted to talk about Norwegian black metal church burnings?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a bit more modern, but like I said, Kaldheim can take lots of different inspirations from lots of different places. So black metal is a underground like subculture of metal music that flourished in Norway in the early 90s. And let's be honest, black metal sucks. It's no good.
That was a hot take.
It really is, and I've tried listening to it over and over again. It's basically it's an extreme form of punk. And it really kind of leans into the metal, like the metal aesthetic, but it's punk music, and the people playing it are not good musicians
or good people.
That's true. We'll talk about that in a second. So the music is basically like really shitty punk music that is like super distorted and super metal. Yeah. And the people who were into that subculture were very much like against like, normal society and, normal people. And it was a very extreme subculture. And like, they were very much into like, acting like they were super evil, and like, that manifested in actual real life crimes. The thing that the black metal scene of Norway is most famous for is like a real rash of arsons against these historical wooden Christian churches in Norway. They would go at night and they would like torch these churches as sort of like proof that they were as metal as their music made them seem that they were. And okay, so the arsons weren't great. but you have to admit that the aesthetic of seeing these historical wooden churches just burning in the dark, surrounded by snow, is a pretty metal image, is it not?
It is pretty metal. I don't agree with the church burnings just because I think it would kind of fuel the religious victim complex a little bit more than it would help get rid of religion as a concept. So black metal, I guess the way to look at it, in terms of the people that make it, are you familiar with the monkey's paw? You make
Yes.
a wish, but it gets corrupted. So you look at punk music. You use the monkey's paw, and you wish that punk musicians would date women their age. But the monkey's paw twists. So black metal musicians will date women who are above the age of consent, but they'll also murder them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no good.
Um,
It's no good. Yeah. I mean, obviously, arson's no good. We're just making jokes here. But I think this is a perfect way to bring Stone Rain back into standard, baby. That's right. Stone Rain back in standard. Church burning. 3 mana, red, sorcery, destroy target land.
I would like to note that arson is no good is not the official stance of both hosts of this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. I like this design. I would love Stone Rain back in standard. I don't think it's too broken. I think it's fine to give us 4 mana Stone Rain with a slight upside if we're scared of doing 3 mana Stone Rain. And I would understand why I would be scared of doing 3 mana Stone Rain, especially in a format with 1 mana dorks. But I think once Gilded Goose rotates, 3 mana Stone Rain is perfectly fine. I do like the Stone Rain with like tiny upsides, so stuff like Molten Rain where it costs 1 more red, but you do 2 damage if it was a non-basic land. So I think to add some flavor, maybe Church Burning could like destroy target land, its controller sacrifices an angel, cleric, or spirit. Just like something that's a corner case that's like very rarely relevant, but like gives it a little bit of that Church Burning flavor. Rather than like a functional reprint of Stone Rain, potentially.
Sure, yeah, you could definitely go somewhere in that direction. So I know that Wizards is opposed to reprinting Stone Rain because it's a feel bad for players.
Yeah.
Just intrinsically, they don't like their lands being destroyed by what your opponent is doing. I've never considered, and maybe you know more about this because you're more of you've played more Ponza in your life than I have.
I play a shitload of Ponza. Ponza is fucking dope.
I wouldn't consider just natural Stone Rain to be actually be like a power level problem in any standard format that we've had recently. Do you think that just straight Stone Rain in like a standard set today would be like a problem or something that Wizards should be trying to avoid for power level reasons?
The issue with Stone Rain is typically 1 mana dorks, and it allows you to, if you go first, create a 3 mana gap between you and your opponent on turn 2. Because if you go first and play a mana dork, they go second, play their land, you take your turn 2, tap your mana dork and your 2 lands to Stone Rain their land, you have put them back to turn 1, and when you untap, you will be on turn 4. So that's the issue with it. Once Gilded Goose rotates, I honestly think Stone Rain would be fine in standard. And the reason Ponza is so strong in Modern is because you can absolutely consistently get a turn 2 Stone Rain and often even a turn 2 Crumble to Dust or Monthly Acid Moss. So the issue isn't Stone Rain itself, it's just do we want to have Stone Rain or 1 mana dorks in the standard format because we can't have both.
Okay, what if Church Burning was 3 red? So there was no generic mana cost. It was just like you need to be straight in the red, absolutely no ramping other than your short-term rituals.
I think in this standard that would be fine. With Shocklands, no. But there's no way to have an untapped actual dual land to play mana dork into triple red spell. So yeah, no, I think that would be fine.
Yeah, that's a little over-designed though. But anyway,
you'd want to add an extra effect if you're going to make it triple red. But
right, yeah, one can dream. This is how I'd like to see Stone Rain come back into standard, but and also be a tribute to the shittiest music ever.
Yeah, shittiest music ever.
Yeah. Yes.
Really.
I would put it up there. Yeah.
Is it shitty enough that it's fun to listen to, like mid 2000s bling rap?
I would say no. I've tried to listen to it quite a few times, and it's always not something I just cannot get into.
Okay, yeah. So that's black metal church burnings. And
Yes,
even if it's not a Stone Rain reprint, that'd be a cool thing to see in Magic.
absolutely.
I think it'd be a cool thing to introduce. So next we've got Ragnarok, which it's a sort of apocalyptic event, a war between gods and other deities. Um, Norse mythology is kind of like Greek mythology in that the power level of all of its deities isn't exactly clear. Like giants might be stronger, might be as strong as gods, etc. There's a like the wolf Fenrir will kill Odin at Ragnarok. It's prophesized, but Ragnarok is sort of when the world tree has like had its roots chewed all the way, or like the dragon and eagle decide that they're finally ready to fight. Ragnarok will happen, and I expect it to be some sort of board wipe. I'd honestly be surprised if there's not a Ragnarok themed board wipe. I don't think it'll just be a Wrath of God reprint. There will probably be some slight upside they use to justify it costing 7 mana or whatever, as they've been doing with board wipes recently. But I think there will definitely be a Ragnarok card. Maybe like just every creature fights every other creature. I don't know. What do you think the Ragnarok card might look like?
Oh, we're absolutely getting this. This is like the one, like
Yeah,
I think, slam dunk
this and
for
Yggdrasil.
yeah, for sure, and especially since I know that the soy boys at Wizards of the Coast, no offense, but I'm sure they're taking a lot of inspiration from Thor Ragnarok, which I haven't seen,
Uh,
but it sure has to do with this. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Thor, Avengers references, and Ragnarok is definitely going to be a Magic card. Um, as far as ideas for it, it's probably going to be overcosted. So it will be, probably up to like 7-8 mana, and it'll destroy all creatures, but it'll have like I don't know, maybe it'll be white and it'll gain a ton of life. I don't know, or
we already have Fumigate.
yeah, would a Celestia board white be out of character or like break the color pie if it was like a green white in some way, and it did like a put in a 2020 creature, and then that creature an indestructible creature, and then that creature fights every single creature, and then you sacrifice the creature or something ridiculous like that.
That I could see
That
that happening, or they could just like destroy all creatures and artifacts. I think that could be green white. I don't know.
yeah,
That would be the boring way to do it, but yeah.
seriously, it's probably just going to be a reprint of planar cleansing, right? Just all
Oh, I
all
hope it's
non-land
not that.
permanents.
I really hope it's not that. I hope they do something to make it Ragnarok flavored. I would rather it be Ragnarok flavored and bad than just a Wrath of God reprint.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah,
Yeah.
something new and something flavorful is why I would prefer. But there's always got to be a bad board wipe, and this will probably be that for Kaldheim.
Do you think Standard could take Wrath of God?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it currently has Wrath of God. The thing about Wrath of God is that it hoses regeneration, which, as far as I know, does not exist in current standard.
Oh, do we have a
So,
4-drop board wipe that's just double white, double colorless?
well, there is Shatter the Sky, which lets both you and your opponent draw cards if you have a creature that's more than 4. So that's like a
Oh yeah.
that's a twist on it, but I mean, let's be honest, it's a Wrath of God. Like
I
the card drawing is relevant, but like not relevant enough to matter whether you play it or not. You play Shadow the Sky when you need a board wipe. So
okay, yeah,
yes,
I think I buy that.
I would say it. I would say technically it already has Wrath of God.
Okay, yeah, no, I think I buy that. Yeah, I just want Ragnarok to be something flavorful and cool, and I would be really disappointed if it was a reprint of another card.
Or a Thor, right? Or a Marvel Avengers
Yeah,
Thor.
every cheeky Marvel reference I see is going to make me take a longer hiatus from Magic when the dumbass Harry Potter set comes out.
Now, I'm actually okay. All right. So we talked about this a little bit before on a previous episode, and I don't want to get too much into it now. But I am actually looking forward to Strixhaven. I want to see the Harry Potter set. Like maybe it's like a car crash, and I just want to see how bad it is. But I'm actually looking forward to it and seeing what Magic does.
You gonna draft it over Brunch?
maybe, but yeah. I think you have some good ideas for Ragnarok here.
I'm gonna do the pre-release with my partner because we always do that when every set comes out, and I'm excited for the Kaldheim one. The Strixhaven one, I don't know. Maybe it won't be as Harry Potter derivative as I think it is, but I am definitely worried. But yeah, the Ragnarok card is hopefully going to be dope. I have good or I have excited feelings for it, I guess. Maybe it's already been spoiled. I don't know. I'm gonna look at the spoilers after we're done recording. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, Ragnarok is gonna be sweet. So you wanted to talk a little bit about Tibalt's story arc, and I put the two cards that you referenced in his abilities here. So our
Yeah.
viewers who don't know what they are can read them. I had to Google what Final Fortune was, and then I immediately remembered the Degenerate Commander deck that you showed me.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
played
absolutely.
it.
I had to fight Magic Set Editor to actually get the text on this card looking the way that it does. So that's
Oh
why
yeah,
it looks as weird as it does. But okay, I made a Tibalt card, but I mostly want to talk about the character of Tibalt.
yeah,
I have fond memories of opening him in packs of Avacyn Restored, and when he got spoiled, it was a big deal that he was the cheapest planeswalker that had been printed at that date. He was the first 2-mana planeswalker, and let's be honest, he was kind of bad. Not a terrible card, but he was not really anything you would play in anything that wasn't a bit of a silly deck.
yeah. Is he still the only 2-mana Planeswalker card?
No, Rin and 6 is now the new one,
Oh yeah.
and then of course you can argue that Deathrite Shaman is the 1-mana planeswalker.
Or that Jace Vryn's Prodigy is a 2-mana Planeswalker.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
unfortunately, yeah. So unfortunately, Tibalt is a meme. Like people, he's a joke, and it's unfortunate that his character is, kind of like a playful trickster, kind of sadistic kind of guy, because that makes him even easier to make fun of. And I think that's a real shame. I think that Tibalt has the ability to actually be a really interesting and influential character within Magic the Gathering story. Let's be honest, he's the Joker. That's what his character is supposed to be.
Yeah, we haven't had a Magic set yet that takes place in a society, so he hasn't seen his full potential.
Right, for sure. And I think that there is a lot of room for Magic to have a recurring Joker character. Of course, the card needs to be good, or at least playable and not a meme. And I think it's a real shame that such a kind of classic character trope is now just a joke. And I would love for the new Tibalt character to show up, really lean into the Jokerness of his character, and then kind of change that paradigm of, oh no, my character isn't just a meme. Like I am the Joker. You should be afraid when I show up because I will, make everything more chaotic and dangerous for you. So in that
Yeah,
idea, yeah, go ahead.
I think that could be really interesting. Just kind of spells that really change, or like abilities that really change the way the game is played. Not necessarily even in a more hectic way, but just in a very like sort of intense way. And I like the effects that you've picked for each of the spells. Like they lose the game at the end of the next turn. I think Skullcrack on a +1 is very very strong. But I guess if it has to hit a player, it's not as broken as because I thought for some reason that Skullcrack could hit creatures, which I was wrong about. So I guess it's not removal on a +1, which is definitely better.
Sure,
Um,
yeah. I would not want Tibalt to be basically like a random. I wouldn't want him to like be like everything's random and like you can't play the game, you can't be strategic because it's all just random. But I do think you can infuse a little bit of that into his character and it still be a constructed, playable, good card. And let me just go ahead and read Tibalt so everyone kind of knows what we're talking about here.
sure.
And I'm not a card designer. These are not like I didn't design this as like an actual exercise in what a good Magic card, how it should be designed. But it's a 4-mana planeswalker with 4 loyalty. The +1 is basically casting Skullcrack, which for those of you who are not experienced burn players like I am, Skullcrack, 2-mana instant. Players can't gain life this turn, and then damage can't be prevented, and then it deals 3 damage to target player. So +1 just kind of does a red thing. It kind of just kind of increases the clock, kind of hurts and punishes your opponent. And I think that the damage prevention, the life, can't gain the life, kind of ties into Tibalt's like a new identity, kind of lining it up with the War of the Spark Planeswalker, which just shuts down life gain altogether.
Yeah, that was good enough to see some sideboard play when it was in standard.
Oh yeah, for sure. The -2, I wanted it to be able to protect itself. So the original or the most recent Tibalt creates a devil token, and these deal damage to
Yeah, they are the
target
1/1
whatever.
devil tokens.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
these will do that as well, even though I didn't write it down here. But -2 and create 2/1/1 red devil tokens with that ability to help protect itself and just kind of be a board presence that's very much in Tibalt's character. And then for the game winning ultimate, I thought that Final Fortune was a good way to do it, and almost kind of a joke. If you wanted to really lean
Yeah.
into that jokerness of it, you give your opponent another turn, but they have to kill you or they die. So casting Final Fortune on your opponent will most likely win the game. I think it's very appropriate for an ultimate for
Yeah.
a mythic planeswalker. Yeah, so this is my idea. I think that there's a lot that could be done with Tibalt, and I really want to see. I want to see my boy done justice.
Yeah, I think you might have to word the Final Fortune ability really weirdly to actually give them an extra turn. Because if it's literally just Final Fortune as it's printed, then they take another turn after your turn is over, which they would do anyway, and then they lose the game at the end of that turn. But
you word it word it however it works.
Word it how it needs to be worded. But yeah, no, I get what you're trying to say. It makes sense. I want to hone in on those 2/1/1 red devil tokens because it feels like every time that they've made those, they've been costed too conservatively to be good. Like they had a rare that was 6 mana that made 4 of them in Shadows over Innistrad when they kind of debuted. Yeah, so I feel like a -2 on a Planeswalker is absolutely appropriate to make 2/1/1 red devil tokens. And I think if we get a Ragnarok board wipe, Tibalt could be all about trying, he wants to watch the world burn. He could be all about making Ragnarok happen. So having creatures that do damage to something when they die would allow you to, if you've used Tibalt, get a payoff when Ragnarok happens, and it sort of fits with his theme, with his lore. So I really love that.
Oh yeah, that actually be a really great way to do it.
Yeah, with the 2/1/1 red devil tokens. So I definitely want to see that ability on him, just to kind of as a reward for getting to Ragnarok, because that seems like something he would want to do. That seems like something in character for him. He would want to kind of cause the end of the world. Yeah. I would like Tibalt to be good. Rakish Instigator was pretty good, and having one sideboard playable Planeswalker card is better than we can say for a lot of Planeswalkers. But I definitely wouldn't mind a good like a standard mainboard playable one.
Yeah, that would be really good. I just want Tibalt to be good. I think it's really unfortunate that he's a meme, and I want a card that's going to bring him back and be like, no, I am not a meme. I'm actually a threat. So,
do you think he'll pick up a black?
I think that they possibly would do that. That seems like something Wizards would do, but I kind of feel that he needs a restart on his core before we start doing iterations of him, if that makes sense.
He needs be completely overhauled.
Yeah. We need a good red Tibalt before we start adding colors and doing iterations of his character that are away from his core. So
okay, hear me out. Complete overhaul. Tibalt is Bant now. He no longer wants to do anything crazy or evil. He just brews kombucha and goes to poetry slams.
Oh, I like this. And he's actually he wears the shirt that says, this is what a feminist looks like, but he's actually really shady to his girlfriend. I love this.
Oh, yeah. He won't shut the fuck up about how he voted for Elizabeth Warren.
Okay, I love this. Basically, shitty leftist Joker Tibble. I think this is a good idea. We should workshop this.
Yeah, gamers settle down.
All right, yeah. So that's my idea for Tibble.
No, I would love that. I would love. I want. I like for Planeswalkers to return eventually. I like the trend of them not just sort of getting left after their home plane. I like that they sort of buck that trend, because for years that would be what would happen. Like Vraska showed up on Ravnica and then she just never came back until Ixalan. So it would be really cool if Planeswalkers play an active role in other planes stories. And I'm excited for the 2 new Planeswalkers, honestly. We're getting an Elf Tribal one, and we're getting a non-binary blue and some other colors Athlete. From Theros, from the Theros in games. So I'm excited to see what those cards do. I hope they are good in specific decks. That's what I want out of any Planeswalker. I don't want it to be ubiquitous, but I want it to be playable.
I think most people are like that. Like we want planeswalkers to be good and powerful, but most people want niche planeswalkers that are good in certain strategies and not ones that are just auto includes. I think almost all Magic players are of that mindset when it comes to planeswalker design.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we want out of Kaldheim. Those are our sort of suggestions that we made to each other, and I just put them into a slideshow. And yeah, I've had a great time doing this live episode. I think this went really well.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
Yeah. So what are your what are your closing thoughts on what you think we'll get in Kaldheim? What you're excited for? Anything off the cuff that you've just thought of now?
No, I think it's mostly going to be very by the book, like most level 0 references, because Magic designers talk about this. Uh, they say that like good design is giving players what they expect. Why do we always get shocklands in Ravnica? It's because people expect shocklands in Ravnica.
Yeah.
Kaldheim is going to give players exactly what they expect to see in Kaldheim, which is why I'm really thinking that snow is going to make a comeback, because everyone wants snow. There's going to be a bit of an uproar if Kaldheim doesn't have snow in it. If there's not an Odin card or a Sleipnir card, the eight-legged horse, people are going to be upset because they are expecting those things. So like Ragnarok in whatever form that takes, if that's not a card, I think people are going to be upset. So Wizards is going to give people exactly what they want, regardless of what that is, or whether that particular mechanic should exist in a standard set.
Yeah. I think I pretty much agree. I don't know about snow. And like I think the Shockland thing was partially because it was what players expected, and partially because of all the death threats from not including fetch lands in Return to Zendikar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope we see these things. I'm excited to see these things. I'm excited to see some Norse stuff that I didn't even know about from our research. And I'm excited to hopefully not see any cheeky Marvel references. I don't want them. Marvel is imperialist propaganda.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's been our episode. How do you feel about buttoning this one up?
Yeah, I'm down to button this one up. Let me take us off of live. Oh, you got to do a little outro. Yeah. Thank you for listening to Gutshot. The absolute spiciest of MTG hot takes can be found here. You can find us on YouTube, Anchor, Last FM, probably Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's the ones that people actually use.
Outside in your trash can.
Yeah, you can find us outside in your trash can. But yeah, oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at GutshotPod. You can follow me on Twitter, Will, at AgroRhetoric. You can follow Frederick on Twitch right here where you're watching this. Or if you're listening to this in the podcast, that's at War Crimes Uwu on Twitch. And this has been Gutshot. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we will see you next time.